Hey, welcome back to Ike Live. Thanks for hanging in there with us. We've got through our audio issue. Brian Carpenter, correct me if I'm wrong. Click, click. Audio issues are gone. I can't hear you, but...
Yeah. I think so.
I think so. Okay.
What's up? I'm here.
Audio issues are gone, and I kicked the co-host out, Pete Glusick. So now this show is going to run smooth without Pete in here. Because Pete's a disaster. Let me remind you, if you're watching, lots of ways to watch. If you're watching on IkeLive.com, please hit us up on the IM board. Eric, the intern back there, is going to sift through some of your comments and let them through. Also, you can watch us on Facebook at Ike Live Show and follow us over there as well. Brian, are we on YouTube tonight as well?
Yeah.
Oh, we are. And we're broadcasting live on YouTube
There's
tonight.
30,000 people watching.
For all
on
the YouTube
right
people out there, give them something to watch. Let me remind you, we've got a great show tonight. We've got the Kayak Special. Keaton Eoff's in the house.
Woo!
On the couch with us tonight. In a little bit, we're going to be talking to Ron Champion, and his young son will be joining us. And then later in the show, Chris Payne, Mr. Kayak, will be joining us. Does he have that tattooed on his arm?
He does.
Mr. Kayak.
That's kind
Chris
of a
Payne.
cool last name. You have a lot of range for nicknames with that.
Pain?
Yeah.
Bring the pain?
Sure.
Rain the pain?
Mr. Payne.
Mr. Payne.
Mr. Payne.
It is. Keaton, I'm going to jump back to you and talk a little bit about, everybody knows you as a Hobie, the Hobie kayak guy. But before Hobie, tell me a little bit about how'd you get into fishing? And then I want you to talk about Sebile, because that was I know that was a cool time for you.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. But how'd you get into this whole mess of a sport?
It's just absolutely growing up loving fishing. I think we all had that experience. It didn't matter what it was. I was fishing in culverts. I was anywhere I could, golf courses, anywhere I could, trespass property.
Hey, I don't know. You judged me on the trespass, and here you are stomping all over the green.
I did not judge you. I just acted like maybe I hadn't committed that offense before.
Thank you. Okay.
But
I felt judged.
Yeah, but I think there's some of us that just have this thing that doesn't matter what you catch, you're just driven to go do it.
Yeah.
And so that's ever since like my Vegas's age, I can remember just my fishing experience.
Yeah.
And just grew up in normal life. Always loved it. Always did it. Had a couple businesses, and just kind of was at that point where I was like, golly, I think I'm gonna be miserable if I don't really go after this. And,
right.
So I just started trying to get a job. So the first thing I did, I sent my resume out to all the big companies and got crickets. Right?
Oh man.
Total crickets?
Crickets.
Right.
Crickets, no response. And I'd kind of worked my way down that I was, the internet was just getting started, right? So I used the internet and
used MySpace?
I don't remember.
This would have been before MySpace.
Before MySpace. Okay.
But yeah, so I got a job with Texas Fishing Game Magazine. Great magazine out of Texas.
Oh, wow.
Still love those folks, and started selling advertising with them. Started meeting people in the industry, and just kind of like one thing led to another, and started working for some smaller lure companies, and then kind of got into marketing. Did marketing for a lodge down on the coast. That was about the time I met Patrick and Sebile.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, Dave Maynard, and I were at Lake Mead fishing during ICAST one year, and there was this French guy on the boat, and he was behind us about 30 yards. We're trying to catch these big stripers, and we're casting, and all of a sudden we see this lure come flying over our shoulders and outcast both of us. And we've got a 30-yard head start. We both just kind of turn around, and he's grinning at us. Well, that's when we met Patrick Sebile, and many people know he's kind of one of the great characters now of sport fishing, and he's a brilliant mind and great lure designer. And so we met Patrick there, and at the time he'd yet to even design. He probably had some prototypes going, but was still just this. I think his claim to fame at the time is he was the captain of the world record tarpon catch.
Huh.
So in Europe he was a known personality, but in the U.S. no one knew him.
Right.
And then
where did he catch that tarpon at?
Guinea-Bissau, actually. It's in Africa.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So
I didn't even know they were in Africa.
Oh, see, he had a lodge over there for years, and that did a lot of his operating out of there. So, so met Patrick, and we kind of cranked up, a concept to Dave and I to bring the brand in the U.S. and get the U.S. distribution rights. and along with Patrick, started a lure company.
So you met a guy on the water,
Met him on
bombing
the
over
water.
your shoulder, and
Yeah.
then wow, what a connection.
Yeah.
Do you remember what did he say the first time you met? Is there something you remember that sticks with you? Because I'm closing my eyes and imagining it was something like, Kitan, the zebra masal by the dam.
You know what? He was pretty quiet then, to be honest with you. And because I think he'd had a trip before and they didn't catch any big fish. And he was pretty persistent with the guide, basically saying, hey, I want to see a big fish. And so he was just on the guide boat. And the guide asked if, we cared if a French rider came along. And we're like, yeah, no problem, as long as he didn't get in our way, right?
Right.
As long as he stays out of our fish. And then next thing we know, this lure comes flying over our heads. And he's back there grinning, and he just had some really sweet gear. And a lot of European gear is a little more advanced. We're catching up.
Yeah.
But this was, 15 years ago now. And they really had some more advanced gear than I think what we have over in the United States.
Wow.
And so he was chunking lures a lot further than ours.
Yeah.
But he brought that concept of really high quality gear, and then with his mind, and made some great lures. And really this, we launched that company, the U.S. side of it, in my garage in Abilene, Texas.
Wow.
And there's really not a lot of fish in Abilene. You don't think of it being this great fishing area.
Yeah.
There's plenty of good fishing. Our water's just a little red. But we launched it there, and it wasn't about what we did in Abilene. It's about what we did everywhere else. And slowly started growing the brand.
When was it?
That would have been like 05, 06. And it really kind of pinnacled, and I don't know the year, but I can remember really well the thing that really set the company off the chart. We'd had some like regional successes in tournaments with guys winning some events down at Rayburn. Then we had a bait that did really well on the Florida coast. It was kind of getting some TV highlight. But on Clark's Hill Reservoir, I believe,
I remember this.
Kenyon Hill,
Yes.
Peter T. gave Kenyon a bait. Like it was this, we had no connection with Kenyon. Peter T. had given him one of these baits that he picked up in Florida, I think, was basically the story. Someone can call and correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm sitting there and I'm getting calls from my reps. Some guys at the Dawn Coffee Company, great rep group. I'm getting calls. They're like, dude, they're showing the Magic Swimmer on stage, and we're like, wow, that's getting pretty cool, and all of a sudden, we're starting to get some online orders and stuff, and it just kind of went on and on. Well, 2 weeks later, the show airs, the Bassmaster show airs, and there's no better spokesperson than Kenyon Hill because he's so genuine, and the guy is just throwing this bait out there. He's switching back and forth between a Magic Swimmer and a Carolina rig. And he's just like, and each time he sets the hook on the swimmer, it's like a bigger fish. And he's shaking the screen. And at this time, Zona is just sold out. Zona's going, pay attention to the bait he's using. And it just, blew up overnight.
Yeah.
And it was just the greatest thing for this little company.
Yeah. I remember that event. I remember that was my first time. In fact, as you were talking about it, it was my first time that I knew about that bait. But the interesting thing is that, to me, launched the hard swim bait craze in the U.S. It really did. Like it wasn't the first hard swim bait, but that was the beginning to the hard swim bait craze, like everywhere in the United States.
It was the first time in professional fishing we saw a like that win
Right.
and be super successful.
Right.
So that was perfect.
Yeah, especially with Zona, talking about that and just pointing out every fish. Pay attention to the lure, and he's Kenyon shaking it and drinking Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And we were just like, then we had to
scripted it. Yeah. You
no.
couldn't have scripted it
Then
anyway.
we
You
had
guys got all
to
the breaks.
struggle to keep up with orders for the
Yeah.
next 2
Wow.
years.
Yeah. And especially on herring lakes, that thing just became a staple.
It did.
The way that it moved and the way that the blueback herring moved was very similar.
I remember having conversations with guys. They're talking that I was like, this is a real deal. Because I see
and maybe it works at one time. I can hear my mic's back on now. Sorry guys, but I remember the guys were walking around and at the next herring tournament, whichever it was, maybe on Hartwell or back on Clark Hill the next year, and every single boat had the Magic Swimmer on the deck. Every single one,
including me.
Yeah.
Yeah, including me.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
How does it work for a lure company that goes through that type of dynamic bump? How does like what's the first like can you walk us through that?
The first in a way it's this huge exhilaration because you've kind of like finally hit it, and then really the next 6 months were really challenging, multiple reasons. But we literally woke up the next morning that show aired, and you had so many online orders.
Yeah.
And this was when, like I said, online ordering was just, we had a pretty good website set up in place, and you'd go and the number of elite pros that you would see on there ordering.
Yeah.
But it just grew and grew and grew. And one of the challenges that happens with companies our size, especially in this digital age, is a consumer wants the product. And so they're making phone calls. They're calling multiple dealers. And so all these orders are getting placed. And it's just this race to fulfill it.
Right.
And so you get to the point where you just, you commit everything to fulfilling those orders.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest time. It was a really challenging time getting all that done. And, you have some disappointments because you can only, when all of a sudden your sales grow, 100, 200 fold overnight, and you're not resourced and set up to do it, you have to be really careful with where you spend your money, how you do it. And at the time we were producing in Asia, and so it was a nice long time frame between orders and production.
Yeah.
It was a lot of, but you know what? We got through it, and the company ended up selling to Pure Fishing, and the rest is kind of history. And that was when it was time for me to go join Hobie.
Right.
So that's literally when I left and joined Hobie, and started refining my passions and fishing every body of water I could find.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to miss the next part of Sabile, which was like, what do you do next? How do we top that?
Yeah, we just, it was a good time to move on. A lot of changes were happening, and it was time.
That was an interesting
time to
time lure-wise, though, because you had that at the same time the chatterbait was starting to jump off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You had these two wild concepts that were starting to really be honed in,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to create a game changer that's a truly unique thing, Companies try to do it every year, but only every 6 or 8 do you have one that's actually a true game changer, and chatterbait was one, and the Magic Swimmer was definitely one, for sure.
Yep.
No doubt.
Oh, it's clearly was. And the and that kind of, now the whole category of the glide baits which I think is the Magic Swimmer is in that category, and now everybody's talking about that.
Yeah.
That's like it's a big deal now for the swim bait guys all over the country, especially on the West Coast.
It is a big deal. And speaking of big deals, I want to change topics real quick and talk Hobie Worlds. I want to talk Hobie Worlds with you, Keaton. That's a big deal. This year is Hobie Worlds 7?
7.
This coming year.
7.
So 7 years in. I want to hear the story about how Hobie Worlds came about. Take me back to Hobie Worlds 1, what the concept was, and then now flash forward to Hobie Worlds 7. It's giant. Yeah. Everybody wants to be there. It's a big deal in the kayak world. Talk a little bit about that.
It's a cool event, and Hobie Worlds 1. It's hard to think back really now. I'm like, because now we're at 7, so that means it was 7 years ago. And at one time, so it was basically I think 2010 was our first one, and 2009. Now here's what's cool about Hobie. We were a sailboat company before we were a kayak company.
Right.
And they have sailboat worlds events all over the world, and they have for years.
Yeah.
Well, Steve Fields, my compadre over in Australia, did a lot of those. So Steve had a lot of experience. And one day he was over in California. We were both out in Oceanside, and we were kind of brainstorming through, what would it look like if we did something like this for fishing. And Steve had that history. And because my company had a lot of success from the sales side, once we presented it, it was like, yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And so we shoestringed it. We had it in Australia, the first one. And, we handpicked people to attend because we didn't even have time to qualify. We said we're going to have an event. And we did it, and it went really well. And going back to that community thing, that's kind of what was the driving force in the beginning. because we brought people from the U.S. to Australia, a couple other countries, and we met people that were like-minded,
Yeah.
that liked what we liked. And then we went our separate ways, but thanks to social media, you could stay in contact.
Right.
Right.
And I really think that was a driving force, that ability to meet people, find like-minded people. And then, so year number 2, we came to the U.S. We had an event in the U.S. And we went back and forth, U.S. to Australia a couple of years, and you just watch this community build. And then we really knew that if it was going to be legitimate, we had to develop qualifiers and find ways for anglers to qualify for the event. And, the first couple of qualifiers, we found a way. But then we were able to, as more and more events, matured,
Yeah.
we were able to find really good quality events to qualify. And so we really like most of our qualifiers now, and anglers beat out, 100 to 300 people
Yeah.
in order to qualify for the Hobie Fishing Worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
And these are good guys, good kayak anglers.
Very
from,
good.
from all over the world. Because what's interesting, Pete, I know we talked about it last year, but I got to attend last year's event. Dude, I was blown away at how many countries attended this thing. It was crazy.
Yeah.
How many there were?
over 20.
20 countries.
Every year we have over 20 countries represented.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's insane. That's insane. And I mean, it was amazing to me to see, talk about that camaraderie. A lot of tournaments, Pete, when you think of a professional bass event, it's these guys that go to the meeting and then they rush home and they keep to themselves the whole event. Dude, it's the Hobie Worlds are totally, totally different.
we plan it. It's designed to be that way.
Yeah.
We want it because really the prize is qualifying. When you qualify for the Hobie Fishing Worlds, you get the full experience. One guy wins, but there's 50 more there getting the full experience.
Yep.
And really the difference between number 1 and number 50 is number 1 wins entry to the next Worlds. It's not this massive check. There's not a separation. And so that we really look, and you experience this every night. We have an event. Every angler's treated the same. Our sponsors are just coming more and more involved in the event. And, the anglers show up in identically rigged kayaks. I mean, literally, they all have the same gear on the boat except for their rods and reels and lures.
Even it out. Even the playing
Even it
field.
out.
Yeah.
And then we like to use some local kayakers, like in Louisiana. One of the best clubs in the world is the Bayou Coast Kayak Fishing Club. These guys are, heart and soul of kayak fishing down in Louisiana. Well, they came as coaches. And so, we had local guys, and that part of that thing that you don't understand that's different about kayak fishing. These guys came, spent, days coaching these international anglers how to catch redfish and trout.
But I'll give you an example, and I don't know what it is, right? I don't know why the kayak world is kinder than the bass boat world. But Tom Michaels,
Yep.
he competed against me last year in your charity event to go to the Worlds. Lent me his kayak, lent me anything that I needed. He was like, dude, and he stood nothing to gain from it. Like, I don't understand why. Like, what makes
crazy.
What makes the culture so
it's a totally
embracing,
it's totally different culture. Like when I was at Hobie Worlds last year, just at the hotel, these guys didn't even start practicing yet. This is like the night before practice. Dude, at the hotel, everyone's just talking, sharing baits, knots, lures. Oh, look at this. The hotel was on the water, so they're all out there fishing together. I mean like Spain, China, U.S., Australia, all these places coming together as like one. Like, and I'm looking at this from a Bass Pro, BASS tournament side. I'm like, damn, that's a different hotel setting than the hotels I stay at.
Even just as much as learning how to use the app. I'm horrible with these devices.
Right.
The kid that won the event, painstakingly, and I know I was painful.
Was that Nick?
He sat through, he
Nicholas
walked,
Waddell.
It
he
was.
walked me through the whole thing, and I'm like an old dad with these things. And and he's sitting there
Well,
explaining.
you were trying to do it with a flip phone.
Well,
was your first
you're
mistake.
right. That was, but I knew I was well beyond what I should have been comprehending this, and that kid made sure I learned how to do it before he walked away from
Right.
me.
It's amazing. It's a different culture, and that's
But
pretty amazing.
Isn't that the way you want to do it? You want to make sure your buddy's well equipped before you beat him.
Yeah, no.
That way you got no excuses.
And
exactly.
Yes, Brian Carpenter. Speaking of champions, I'd like to. Can we let's dial Ron up.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, give me 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. In the 3 minutes, I do. I have. I
250.
check occasionally on. This is coming from the social sites of Ike Live Show. This one actually came through Instagram, so this must be a younger person, and he just left initials, and I won't say his initials. It might give it away, but he has a question for you, and it says, Mike, please ask Keaton what is the origin of his nickname, Mr. Pufferfish? Mr. Pufferfish.
That's my buddy Morgan. Back before I was a very experienced angler.
Dave, this sounds like a new character, by the way, so listen to this.
You know, I was sitting there going, at the end of this earlier, I was like, thank God I don't have an AKA. I was like, there's no way they can AKA me. And, well, thanks, buddy. Anyway, down in Mexico, I can drop a jig down and catch a pufferfish every cast. So Morgan's catching big rooster fish, and I'm flipping puffer.
Wow.
So yeah.
Mr. Pufferfish, because you're a pufferfish expert.
He just made that up tonight.
Wow.
I think you need a logo.
You know, he had to go back. I think what he did is he started reviewing old Hobie Outdoor Adventures to try to find a chink in the armor. And he had to go back a long way.
A little op research.
Yeah. That was
wow.
Yeah, and I actually didn't know I had that AKA till today. So
You can make a pretty tough looking puffer fish. You know?
Yeah.
Some jacked arms.
Make a all jacked up.
Give him like a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a manly pufferfish.
No, you can do it. On a lot of tea, a lot of testosterone going through there, you know? A little sweat going down the brow.
Puffer fish.
It's awesome. I think, Pete, by the way, you're going to love this next guest, because I was assuming that Ron Champion was going to be the next guest, but I think Brian has a very special unannounced guest coming on.
Yeah, it was announced to me. I'm super psyched to talk to this guy.
You do know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So this does lend itself a little bit to the Philadelphia Eagles in a way.
Yeah.
Sort of.
In a big way.
In a big way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to talk to this guy. Who do we have coming on the phone then?
Robison.
Wow. Okay. We're going to get him on the phone. Brian DeCarpenter?
We got him.
We got him. And joining us now, I don't know where he's at. We're going to find out. Pete, why don't you introduce him? Because I know that you're an Eagles fan, and I think you'll do a better job of it.
Well, he's the coming off one of the most amazing wins in the history of the NFL.
It's pretty good win.
We got Mr. Robison from the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, Brian.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
I'm a little beat up, but other than that, I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
That's awesome. All right, now, we were talking off camera. That was an amazing game, an amazing finish to an amazing game. Are you still? Is your adrenaline still pumping, or are you in that letdown phase where it's over and now you're ready to get to the next game?
Let me tell you how my day started off. First off, I woke up at 5:30 this morning to get my Monday routine massage, and the first thing I had to do, I'm normally not a guy that turns on Sports Center or anything like that, but the first thing I had to do was turn on Sports Center this morning to make sure that wasn't a dream, that it was reality. So yeah, I kind of was on a high this morning, and now I'm kind of letting down and starting to realize, you know what, we got another game ahead of us, and you're neck of the woods actually, so we gotta get after it.
Well, man,
No, I think you should just keep partying and getting massages. That'd be good.
I'm sure you do, but that's not going to happen, buddy.
Well, this is exciting. This is big. I can tell you that, here in Ike Live Studios, this is going to make this game more exciting to us right now, to have a good friend on the opposing team. And, of course, a lot of us are rooting for the Eagles. But I love this, Pete. I couldn't ask for a better game coming up this weekend.
I'm super excited. I mean, I watched that game. It was so amazing. I can't imagine, the emotions that you guys went through, because I went through it just watching it. And I'm excited that you're coming to town. It's going to be really cool watching you play in our stadium, and you're going to be the top dog there, because the Eagles are the underdog in that game. And it's going to be quite a battle. I mean, you guys came off a great win. The Eagles really kind of skated away from losing on the last game, but it's going to be a great game. You know, who you picking?
Well, you know, let's be honest here. All the odds makers really don't matter when it comes to this game. And you know what? You guys got a really good defense up there. We know that, and we also know y'all like to establish the run. So we're definitely going to have our work cut out for us on Sunday. But you know what? I got to roll with the Minnesota Vikings.
That's a surprising call.
Surprising call. I want to make an analogy here because I think it's a great time to do it between football and fishing. Professional football, professional fishing. I hear it all the time, Pete. We deal with this all the time. People, you know, basically saying in professional fishing, it's all luck, right? You know, it's all luck. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, you can fish 300 days a year. At the end of the day, if you win an event, catch a big one, it's all luck. Skill doesn't matter. I hear that so much. I see an analogy here. Did any luck play? Because I know the answer. In fishing, there is no luck. Do you get that in football, Brian? Do you get that at all? And did you get that in that game? Were there people you know, saying this was a lucky moment? I don't think that's true, but do you get that?
Well, I think here's the deal. I mean, at the end of the day, I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely, you have to. You know, the thing about it is, we have never been on the right side of that type of ball game. And this time, I think what really stood out for us, and you know how it is, Mike, when you go in and you pre-practice and you put in all this hard work and you practice different situations, and it's the same thing with us on the football field. We practice these situations throughout the offseason, throughout training camp. So when you get put in those situations, you're comfortable. You know what you need to do in order to win a ball game, and that really was one of those deals that stuck out yesterday for us. I mean, obviously we got a little lucky with you know, the guy missing the tackle and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it was still a play that we called up based on the situation that we had practiced before.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's basically the same answer I give in different contexts. Dude, there's luck in anything in life, Pete. Dave, there's luck in anything in life, but at the end of the day, it's your hard work, it's your preparation that gets you to that point.
Hey, Brian, it's Dave. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, let me ask you, did you guys review the game film yet today?
Yeah, we watched it today when we went into work.
How many times did you guys loop the missed tackle?
Well, we didn't do it because we were watching the defensive tape. But you know, here's the deal. You know, we were actually a little disappointed in ourselves watching that ball game today because we realized that if we make a play here, we score again, we stop them and get off the field one time. That game is totally different ball game. It may end up being a blowout. So. But you know what? That's hats off to Drew Brees and that football team over there. They fought back, and we ended up being one for the ages, no doubt about it.
Well, you sure did a hell of a job shutting them down in the first half. They couldn't do anything with you guys.
Yeah, we knew they wanted to get the screening game going and be able to run the ball. We were able to shut that down and kind of put them in a situation where they had to pass the ball, and they made some adjustments at halftime and came back out. But you know what? We're gonna have to do the same thing this week. We know Philly likes to run the ball, so we're gonna have to get after it a little bit.
Well, I think you guys are going to get lucky with the weather. I heard the game time forecast. I mean, it's been freezing down here. I think it's going to be in the mid-50s for your game. So
wow.
Yeah, that should make every passing game and a lot of things could come alive.
Here
like that.
Here it goes. Mid-50s. Little bit of cloud cover, falling barometer. You know what happens when those conditions are around. Them fuckers bite.
I know exactly what happens when conditions are around. You shouldn't be on a football field.
All right, speaking of conditions, I want to switch gears. Brian, tell me a little bit about what do you got coming up in 2018 from a fishing standpoint?
You know, I'm gonna fish what I can. Obviously, I've got my foundation tournaments that we've been setting up and getting everything rolling for that. So we've got our Rayburn tournament down in Texas, March 29th through 31st. We've got our Minnesota tournament up here in Minnesota, June 15th through the 17th. So that'll be a big priority. during the off season. But I'll probably go to the Classic again. I'm probably gonna maybe hopefully fish maybe a Texas team trailer too, maybe some Bass Champ events and stuff like that. So, and then just go out, man, and do some fun fishing. So I mean that's kind of what I got planned for this off season.
That's awesome. And you know, if by chance you guys do win the Super Bowl, I have to tell you that a Super Bowl ring makes a tremendous Carolina rig weight.
Well, and I'll need it because I think there's a FLW Costa event that's going on down there. So I mean, it'd probably be one using a Carolina rig Super Bowl ring. So no doubt.
You'll be the only one in that tournament doing it. So.
Yep. Always got to find something different, right?
It makes that special clacking sound.
It does. It says all the
Like
diamonds.
Got a little flash to it.
Yeah, a little flash.
Yeah,
Lots of flash.
it's all the diamonds. And they actually put on a Super Bowl ring. We actually know the guy, Dave Smith, fellow fisherman, makes all the Super Bowl rings.
Yeah,
Same guy that makes the classic rings. They're built a lot the same, except the Super Bowl ring, they use real diamonds and 24 karat gold. And the Bassmaster Classic ring, it's moissanite and 5 karat gold. So
yeah, so pretty much the same thing.
Pretty much the same thing. But
I mean, it's basically the difference between lead and tungsten, right?
Right. It's just softer. Come across the bottom. That's right. Well, Brian, I tell you, thanks for coming on. I'm so stoked for your win, and I'm so stoked to watch this game coming up this weekend. I don't know, Pete. Can you remember the last time you were as excited about this game? I'm excited. Excited.
Yeah. Well, it's great. Now, as a Philly fan, I've been forever, and we're not in this position very often. Like you, the plays usually go against us,
right?
and it doesn't work out. But it's going to be awesome. It's really awesome for me personally, knowing somebody that's playing on the Vikings team. I'm going to be rooting for the Eagles, of course, because I have to. But I'll be watching you play. I wish you the best. And either way, I mean, we win because. Either Eagles are going to the Super Bowl or one of our buddies is going to the Super Bowl. Yep. So it's a win-win.
Win-win.
Well, let me say this, man. I have been very overwhelmed the last couple of days of as a football player and a fisherman outside of football. I've been very overwhelmed with all the support that I've gotten from the fishermen, both on the bass side, the elite guys, and as well the FLW Tour guys. I mean, it's just been overwhelming, the support that I've gotten from them, and I appreciate that very much. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys are still a little sad next week.
Well, the tape will tell, and we'll definitely try to see you, Brian, at the Classic this year. Hope to see you there.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.
You got it.
Have a great game. Good luck.
Bro.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome, man. It's awesome. That's big. This is a big moment for him, man. Big moment.
That's a huge moment. I mean, in any pro's career, I mean, you just don't get a chance to go to the Super Bowl every year.
Nah, it's like being in contention on the last day of the Classic.
Well, it's like nobody qualifies for 17 Classics in a row. Nobody makes the Super Bowl.
Right.
Much.
It's like catching a 9.5 pounder 10 minutes into the tournament morning and not catching another fucking keeper the rest of the day. Sort of like that, but different. You know what's funny? I got to tell you, I saw, it's funny that this is all coming full circle. That day I got off the water, dude, I was beside myself, because I caught two fish early and then couldn't do anything else. And, when you're that pissed off, dude, you just don't want, you don't want anything to do with anybody. I'm internalizing what happened, the mistakes I made, and I opened the car door to go back and put the trail. This is like I pull out of the water. I know it's over. I know I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed off. And the first I open the door and I'm like, oh great, it's a fan. I got to talk to a fan. I'm thinking that not because I don't like the fans, because I'm mad. And it's Brian Robison and his son.
Oh, Brian Robison?
Yeah, and his son were there, and they were the first people I saw when I pulled out of the ramp.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and he actually brought me back to reality a little bit. It was cool. I mean, I still punched the screen to my radio and everything, but
Did you?
it was nice. Yeah, it was nice. He brought me back down to reality. Like, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's just didn't happen.
Plus, you don't want to make that guy mad.
Nah, you don't want to make that guy mad. Right.
That could be trouble.
That could be trouble. He's a big guy.
Speaking of big
giant
guys.
man.
Yeah, he's a
sitting
big
next
guy.
to him to interview him. I mean, like you made this comment before, like NFL athletes are a different breed. I mean, they're structured different than
built different.
regular people. And when I sat next to him at the Classic, and when we did our interview there, it was
big guy.
It's just amazing,
Yeah.
and proportional, just giant,
Yeah.
Giant person,
Like a full-size brush hog versus a baby brush hog.
kind of like
That's
that.
exactly.
Yeah, it was Pete's size, but muscle.
Right.
Wondering how long it would take for that to come around.
That was from that comment during the first section.
rip it on his
It brought it all back. All right, we got another guest coming on. We're going to keep it rolling, and from one champion to another. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've got a guest we've had on the show before. Great friend of everybody's. Great friend of the show, and perfect for a kayak special. Ron Champion joins us. Everybody. Hey, Ron. What's cooking? Eric, talk for him. Go. I couldn't hear you either, though. That's the funny thing.
Jesus
Those are
God.
the first words I've
We
spoken
can't
all
hear
night.
Ron. We can't hear Eric.
Oh my God.
All right, Dave,
Bring Ron.
be Ron then. Somebody be Ron.
Well, he's off the screen
Oh,
now.
he's
so I
off the
can't.
screen.
Hey, you know what? While we're waiting to see him up, we didn't even mention. He mentioned the Costa. It made me think about that angler that lost his life.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
If Brian wasn't rushing me through the entire show,
Yeah.
we would have talked about that. Yeah, we are going to talk about that.
All right.
I want to get Ron on, and then
Yeah, he's back up.
we will bring that up during the next break. All right, we're going to try it again. We're going to pretend it never happened. Joining us live on Night Live, Ron Champion, everybody. Let's try it again. Ron Champion.
I'm here.
Oh! We got sound. Wow. 50-50, Brian. It's not
What's
bad.
up, guys?
What's going on, Ron? How you doing?
Oh, good, man. Sitting here. It's cold down here in Savannah, Georgia.
Cold and that's not possible.
Man, it snowed here 2 weeks ago, and it's the first accumulating snow we've had in 29 years.
Holy smokes,
That-
that's cold.
Now,
Got
are
about
you?
an inch of ice and about 2.5 inches of snow, and it was crazy.
Wow. Now, are you chipping? I see these images coming from South Florida where the guys are chipping out alligators and snakes and fish out of the ice. Are you chipping stuff out of the ice?
I ain't chipping no alligators out. Man, they're everywhere down here, man. Whew, I'm a Tennessee boy, and when I moved here a little over 2 years ago, man, there's gators in every hole down here. It's crazy.
Wow. That's so unusual, Pete. It's been such a weird winter to have these big drifts of cold going that far south.
Yeah, it's gonna. I wonder how that's gonna play, right? Because we got a lot of big tournaments coming up all across the country. Water temperatures are looking like, they're gonna be lower than they would normally be on those times of year. With all this cold. We even have icebergs floating down the Delaware River
That's
right
true. No, that's true.
now.
Yeah, these Florida and South Georgia fish and Florida fish, they don't like cold weather. I've got a big tournament. I leave out Wednesday. I'm going down to Florida, the 10 championship. Trying to go win that again. Me and a buddy of mine, we tied for the 10 championship last year. Mike, you was there down at Bienville.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you went down there and you whooped up on Hoover a little bit.
Yeah, I had to. He was talking so much smack. He said my kayak had tan lines on it. I had to go down there and teach him a lesson.
Yeah, you taught him one, all right. Well, we'll be down there this weekend. I leave, like I said, Wednesday, and hopefully I can go down there and win that tournament outright this year instead of having to be a co-champion as last year with the tie. So it'd be it's the top 10 guys in points in KBF, and then the winner gets to go back and compete and try to. You got to dethrone the champion, and I've got that last name, so they can't never take that away.
Now, I want to know, having fished it last year, is that something you're going to use? Are you going to use that knowledge that same patterns, same techniques, or are you going this year with it being a different kind of weather and just approaching it with new eyes?
Well, I'll take the knowledge of the area, but they actually moved us to a different lake. There's multiple lakes down there, so we're not fishing the same lake that we fished last year. That way was no extra advantage for the new guys that were coming in. But But I mean, it's those are those mining pits, and it's all strip mines and stuff, and it's like a corn maze out there. You think you're going somewhere, and then you hit a dead end. You got to turn around and find your way through it. And so the lake that we're on is really it's a labyrinth of little canals and channels, and so it'll be we get a day and a half to go out and just take our. Of course, I'm in the Hobie, so I'm paddling around everywhere. I'll be trying to learn the lake and learn where I'm at, where I'm going. But no fishing. We got a day and a half, no fishing. All we can do is go out with our boats and our grass and try to find something. And then the tournament starts Friday, and we'll be fishing Friday and Saturday.
Wow. That's interesting practice period, Pete, with no fishing, just scouting.
Yeah, I mean that is like super. It's what you do during the pre-practice round,
right?
But are you what are you rocking? Side imaging, 360. What are you working with out there?
I've got the Lowrance, the TI9, so it's a total scan. So I'm shooting down, side, sonar. It's just like if you were in your bass boat, and I'm out there. It's those mining pits, so there's a lot of soft bottom. So I'm looking for those hard bottoms, those areas where those fish might stack up. Especially when these cold weather fronts come in, they like to get in some of these deep holes, and if you can find them, they'll usually be grouped up. And that's how I did well last year and ended up tying for the championship. Is I found my fish deep. There was beds everywhere. I mean thousands of beds, but there wasn't a lot of fish on the beds. I think a lot of fish started pulling up last year, and then we had cold weather, and they kind of just backed off. And but the weather improved while we were there, so some of those fish actually pulled back on them beds. I fished deep. I stayed out in the middle of the lake, and I fished. You could have probably took a blanket and laid it across the area that I was fishing. I pulled 10. Well, I caught about 35 fish off that one spot, but my 10 best was 195 inches.
Wow.
10 fish. So that's almost a 20-inch fish average.
Yeah, that's good fishing.
Yeah,
22 inches.
Yeah.
You had some. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you had some giants off that spot. I remember hearing like big fish.
I caught. Man, I lost the biggest fish I had of the whole weekend there. I fought that fish for 5 minutes. I never could turn that fish. Wow. He finally came up one time and boiled, and then got me hung up and went back down. It was well over a double digit. I mean, I've got 11.41, my biggest, and it was bigger than it. It was a giant.
So
then he got me hung up, and I fought it. I kept trying to get him on. I don't know what, it was hung up on the bottom, and it broke me off, and then I retied and threw right back in that same spot, and I caught a 23-incher, and I now pulled in like a 22 off of it, and it was crazy, man. There for about 2 or 3 hours, they were feeding hard, and they were stacked in there. So I hope to find something like that, this week I go down there. Be nice to find a group of fish like that deep.
Yeah, I love the deep fish in Florida because they don't get as much pressure. They just simply don't.
Well, the weather seems to be conducive to, deep water fishing down there. So, we talked a lot about the kayak community and how social it is. Are you going to be posting the waypoints from your winning spot from last year?
Well, they moved us. So the lake that, we fished last year, they're actually holding an open event for anybody can come in and fish it. There'll probably be somewhere around 100 anglers fishing that lake. I've had a few people reach out to me already and say, hey, you last year. So they own their own on this one because I may be back on that lake, next year. Who knows? And so, but there's good fishing. I mean, those lakes like that, I mean, you can catch a 10-pounder at any cast down there at Bienville. It's an amazing place to fish. I mean, Mike, you saw it, you fished it. It's beautiful down there. It's nice.
It's gorgeous. I love that place. We got a lot of guys and ladies watching tonight, Ron, that are new to kayak fishing. They either are just getting involved in the sport, they just purchased their first kayak. Give them one tip on how to become a more efficient kayak angler, because I know that's a big issue for a lot of newcomers to the sport, is being efficient. Give them one tip to be a more efficient angler in a kayak?
Well, I mean, you can't get in a hurry anyway. Slow down. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things with any fisherman is teaching yourself, and making yourself slow down sometimes. I fish slow anyway, so kayak fishing really, it fit well with me when I started it, back in 2013. And I don't get in a hurry, it's nothing for me. I'll sit on one brush pile for 10 hours if I have to, to pull 5 fish off of it, so, just don't get in a hurry, fish the water, that you're on, fish it thorough. It'll make you a better fisherman, kayak fishing will. I mean, you can't cover a lot of water anyway. You can run and gun some, but you figure 5 to 6 miles in one tournament. That's about probably your normal. If you're going to go 2-3 miles one direction, fish your way back. I've done 16 miles before in one tournament, but it was 5 miles just to get to my fishing ground, and then 5 miles back. So that's what took a lot of that up. And don't leave fish to find fish. They're there, fish them hard. If they're there and they ain't biting, keep changing baits up, keep changing, the way you're working that bait, the action to it. And the BNville tournament last year, for 2 days, I sat on that one spot. 2 days. I didn't leave it. And I caught 35 plus fish off that spot. They're there, especially this time of the year with weather patterns like this and these cold snaps come in. You got to slow down anyway. Scent plays a big role. I know y'all were talking about that earlier. It's just take your time, man. Fish slow, fish hard.
That's awesome. Now, I know, so you're leaving this weekend for the 10 championship. I have a note here that you got another one coming up at the end of March on Kentucky Lake. What's the deal with that one?
That's the big one, man. That's the national championship. There's going to be over 800 anglers already prepaid, already signed, already paid their entry fee. So imagine 800 kayak anglers on Kentucky Lake. That's going to be a big one. First place is going to pay $100,000.
Wow.
Wow.
That buy a lot of baits.
Wow. Now, so let me do the math here. $100,000, 800 anglers.
Yeah.
The end of March on Kentucky Lake. There's probably about 10 or 20 other bass boat tournaments going on during the same time.
A lot of people on the water.
Is that going to be a lot of people? Is that going to be an issue for you guys?
Again, with kayak fishing, you're on our tournaments, you have to launch from a public location. It doesn't have to be a ramp. It could be a dead end road on the river or anywhere, but it still has to be public access. There's limited public accesses on Kentucky Lake. Right. So you put 800 kayaks on there, even Barkley's included in that. Guys are going to be all over the top of each other, know, and you just you've got to just zone that out, don't worry about it, fish your way, if somebody gets around you, you just can't let it, get to you. That'll, just fish. But, the kayak fishing world, it's good, man. Guys give you respect. They give you your room, and they're very, hey, you mind if I fish over here? It's good. There's been some times when some guys get close. I've had to be vocal a little bit. I need to back up a little bit, man. Yeah. I've been sitting here 3 hours on this one brush pile.
Yeah.
Overall, it's. You just gotta go with the flow, man. Guys are going to be all over each other on that tournament. That's a lot of kayaks on one lake. I don't care how big the body of water is.
That's a ton. It's a ton of kayaks. It's going to be a ton of bass boats. Let me just put you on the spot, Ron. What are you going to do when Jacob Wheeler pulls up on you?
Bring it on, baby. Bring it on. I'll sit right there with him. It'd be bad to get beat out of a man fishing out of a piece of Tupperware.
That's awesome.
I don't think no problem out nobody, though.
That's awesome. I've got another note here, and I want to know a little bit about this because anytime I see something, I have no idea what it is. It makes me curious. Got a little note from Brian the Carpenter, says B2F, which stands for Built to Fish.
Yeah.
What is that, Ron?
You can see the shirt, B2F.
Keep that shirt on, Ron. Keep that shirt on.
Yeah, nobody don't want to see none of that. But no, we, me and my wife, we actually started a new company. Something an idea I've had for about almost 5 years. Wanted to start a brand, my own brand. I mean, it's, Built to Fish. I mean, that's me. That's everything inside of me. It's how God created me. I'm a fisherman. If I'm not fishing, I'm thinking about fishing. It's part of my life. It's been that way forever. And so Built to Fish just kind of fit. And, I do apparel. I make it for a lot of different companies and guys and celebrities. And so I wanted to do my own apparel line, and that's where Built to Fish came. And me and my wife talked about it, and we kind of launched the idea in the company. Been a little over a month ago, and we finally just got all of our new hats and shirts just arrived, because we do all of our own design, and we do our own printing and embroidery, and so that's what the brand is. It's going to kind of be a lifestyle brand, Built to Fish. We got some great designs coming out. We've had some amazing response, from not just the kayak world. I mean, this is for all fishermen. I don't care what a man fishes out of, as long as he's fishing. He's my buddy. He's my kind of guy I want to hang out with. And that's what this brand is about, Built to Fish. It doesn't matter what you fish for or what you fish out of. That's what we are.
That's awesome. It's good-looking stuff. I'd like to rock that, Ron, if that's okay.
Y'all got some stuff coming, man. I told Brian as soon as everything came in, I was going to send you guys with the show and send y'all some stuff. So we'll get a package out to y'all. It'll be next week. I'm going to go down there and win that tournament this weekend. So when I get back, I'll mail y'all some stuff out Monday.
Hey, Ron, I just want to say, send that package to me, because if it goes to Mike, I get a third of it, maybe.
Yeah, I'll give him the wristband, and I'll keep everything else.
Yeah.
Now I know you're a big supporter of youth fishing. You're a big supporter of getting kids involved in the sport. I keep seeing this little head pop up in the background there. I can see this little head pop up back there. Who do you got back there, Ron?
He stayed up past his bedtime for this tonight. His bedtime was 30 minutes ago, so he's kind of excited. My son, and I'm gonna step over to the side. I'll just let him introduce himself, and y'all can talk to him. And he's been looking forward to this all day.
That's awesome. How you doing, young man?
I'm good.
What's your name?
Branton.
Branton, good to meet you, Branton. Now, I need to know, you've had to have been fishing for a long time. You're young. How old are you, by the way?
11.
11 years old, only 11 years old. Do you remember the first time you went fishing? How old were you?
Probably about 2 or 3.
Yeah, somewhere around 2 or 3.
Wow, you got into it when you're real young. Why? I'm going to put you on the spot. Why do you like fishing? What is it about fishing that you like?
I don't know. I just like catching big fish.
Yeah!
Us too.
Me too.
What is your biggest fish that you've caught?
It was 19 and a quarter inches.
Wow.
Largemouth.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow.
Do you have a favorite technique? Are you a crankbait guy? Are you a Carolina rig guy? A topwater guy? What kind of fisherman would you describe yourself as?
I like using worms.
Plastics.
Yes.
Woo.
Senko.
Grande bass.
Grande bass.
Oh, Grande Bass. There's the sponsor plug. You're learning early. I like that. Now listen, I have a note. I have a note here that the first youth tournament you ever fished, you won. You won that thing. How did that feel when you won that tournament?
I really liked it. It was cool.
Did you get a big trophy?
Yes.
Awesome.
And I also have a note here that you took third overall in another tournament, and you beat out 100 adults. Is that true?
Yes.
So that's the same tournament.
It was the same tournament.
Oh, the same tournament. Your first tournament, you beat out 100 adults.
Yes.
Wow.
Is it true that Hunter Shyrock protested you in that tournament?
Apparently not.
It's apparently not.
Are you going to be competing out of a Hobie at Kentucky Lake against your dad coming up?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's coming. You got some youth events coming.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you, Branton, I love that you're fishing. I love that you're this into it at such a young age. And based on your early success, I have a feeling you're going to be out fishing your dad really, really soon on a consistent basis. I have a feeling, man. I can see it. I can see it in your eyes.
Do you have any tips for your dad where he could improve his fishing?
Hey, Branton, do you know how to go get your dad's waypoints off of his ranch?
Okay, I'll tell you if you don't know how. I'll tell you. Okay, so go out there and you power it up. You hit power. You'll see Lowrance flash, and then it'll come on, and then you hit OK. And then when the menu pops up, hit menu. Go all the way down to files. Hit enter on files. Then when files comes up, go down to waypoints. Enter on waypoints. Then you put in your little micro SD card. Just push it until it snaps. And then once it hits there, put export. Once you push export, put export to the little tiny card. It'll be on the right or left-hand side. You can name it Ike Live Show and then stick it in the mail and send it to Brian.
I can still ground him for the rest
That's
of
the
his
actual
life.
way to do it. I'm just telling you.
Nice class on espionage.
I know. Well, Branton, listen, thank you for staying up with us past your bedtime. It was great talking to you. Very inspiring to see a young man like you get into fishing and have a lot of success at your age. So congratulations and good luck in 2018. Wish you the best.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good luck, little man.
All right, you go to bed. I love you.
That's awesome.
That's my boy. Y'all
My
gonna
son
get
would've
that
stayed
boy in
up,
trouble.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Ron, you know what's going to happen when you come back from work tomorrow. He's going to be on your Lowrance unit, downloading the little SIM card.
He's got his own pro angler out there. You know,
we lost sound.
We lost sound.
Yes.
Ron, we lost your sound.
Okay,
bro.
hold on. We lost sound. I'm going to say this. Ron, thank you for joining us on Ike Live. Good luck. Wish you the best. I want to see you win.
Hold on. Ask him that one question, and he can
Are you there?
answer it with his hands.
Okay. The question is, hold on. I have it here somewhere. Okay. Answer this with your hands, Ron. How happy were you when I beat Chad
on a
Hoover and
scale
made
of
him
1 to
shave his
10.
beard off? On a scale from 1 to 10. How happy were you? 10! And there you have it. Ron Champion, everybody. Good luck, Ron.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Ron.
Dude, his hands like a gorilla feet.
I know.
Like a gorilla foot. You ever see like them things, man?
That was scary. Eric the intern, what you got cooking back there? I think this is the first time we can hear you all night,
so
by the way.
what's up, guys? Eric the intern. But anyway, before we move forward, there's a string of comments that we really need to address.
All night long.
This has been a hot topic on the IM board.
All right.
Dave feels it.
They
Is
came
Dave-
out and looked at
all
me,
right,
both
listen,
of them
just listen.
individually. So
Just-
go ahead.
Just listen. Is Dave wearing skinny jeans?
Yeah.
Is Dave wearing... all right, hang on. There's more. Is Dave wearing yoga pants? Is Dave wearing tights?
Oh!
Did Dave have his legs painted in latex?
Oh.
Pete, you want to trade seats?
Are those yoga pants part of the community? So Dave, what are they? Are they tights? Are they yoga pants? Are they late?
These guys are brutal, man.
So for you buffet chomping fatties out there in the athletic world, we don't wear baggy sweatpants anymore. These are Under Armour, very cold gear, type athletic clothes. Yes, I'm looking at them on screen. They look bad. They don't look as good as they do. I'll give you that. All right. You know, I did not. Yeah, they don't look that good.
We just needed to address that.
Do you want to stand up and?
Yeah, I'll stand up, Brian. All right. Look, nothing wrong with these things, man. Look at that. All right. Athletic pants.
Oh, shit. I'm looking.
Thanks, Dave.
Man.
Brian's got Walmart sweatpants on, and you're going to talk about these. I knew something was up, but when you came out and then he come out right behind you, I knew somebody was.
I do have sweats
I'm
on.
looking on. We looked on Instagram real quick. Dan Harriman wants to know, Dave, why you rocking the man camel toe?
Oh, man.
Wow,
Man, Dad beat me up tonight.
man toe.
Hey, feeling bad. He's sick. He's beating him down.
I know.
Nah, that's all right. You know what? I didn't even think.
All right, listen, Brian the Carpenter. Here's what we're gonna do. I think take a little break.
All
I
right.
feel like we got a break coming, and when we come back, I want everybody watching and listening right now, hang in there with us, because when we come back, Pete, we're gonna start giving away these prizes.
Yes.
And we got some big ones.
Yes.
Coming up for all you kayak guys, all you Hobie kayak guys watch tonight. We've got an H crate that we're giving away. We've got a great trivia question for that. We've got an amazing Hobie inflatable PFD, beautiful piece of equipment.
And a PA 14 every 10 minutes.
Ah,
No?
Good thing your mic was off. We didn't hear you.
It was on.
So hang in there with us, and when we come back, Pete, we're going to be doing trivia. I got something else for Keaton. We've got Chris Payne. And then we have a very, very special guest to close out the
Another
show.
guest?
A very
Oh.
special guest to close the show out tonight.
He's going to bring
It's
it.
going to be amazing. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Hang in there with us. When we come back, more Ike Live.